All right, our boat. This is our 21-foot Maxum boat that we are going to completely restore. It's about 20 years old and just needs a new breath of life put in it. So we're gonna put a 6.2 LS in this eventually, but while we're building that, I found this cheap Mercruiser 5.7 that we're gonna throw in. So in this series, we'll show you how to swap that engine real quick, some little tips and tricks, and then stick around for the rest of the series while we build the 6.2 over the winter and have it ready for spring. Here we go. We found this 2005 Maxum 2100 SD.
Decided to cut my losses, give it to somebody who'd probably do a little better things with it.
And here we see our sad Mercruiser, somebody neglected. We are in Texas, heading to Georgia, and now we have to take the boat on power tour. It's holding a little bit of air, but we need to get air in that before we go any farther. Well, that's pretty sweet. It floats. Kenny's gonna cook up some burgers for us. We're gonna sit in the boat, relax, put the bimini top up. I found this cheap Mercruiser 5.7 that we're gonna throw in. I think it was rebuilt, but been sitting for a while. I guess the only thing to do is try and fire it up. So before we do anything else, we're gonna be touching on the interior, the top. We're going to be putting like a custom mat down. We're gonna polish the whole boat, put in a new engine, get it going, go over the trailer. It's gonna be pretty sweet. So before we start pulling the 5-liter Mercruiser that's in there, because it's cracked, we're gonna just protect the boat by laying down some carpet just over all the parts that we're gonna walk, because you're gonna make some trips up and down and might as well keep the floor nice and clean. So you can grab this carpet anywhere in the neighborhood if you don't have it. Usually somebody's remodeling their house and getting rid of little remnants. And just go up to them and tell them, hey, can I borrow that, or can I have that carpet? Because I'm gonna stitch a bunch of it together and put it on my ceiling. And they'll give you a really weird look. And when your boat is finished, they won't wanna join you on it, which is a super plus, because they'll think you're a psycho. So we're gonna cut those and lay them down, take off the cover to get at the engine, and then that's pretty self-explanatory. So we will start from there. Okay, there's a couple things before we start. For the carpet, I do zip tie it down on stuff so that as I'm walking up and down and carrying stuff, this doesn't slide and I don't fall and I don't hurt myself. I like step ladder to climb up and down nice and easy. I put axle stands underneath the trailer so the trailer doesn't slide around. It just makes it more stable because we are changing a bunch of weight in the back of the boat. Take as many tools as you can and lay them out. Socket set, screwdriver set, wrenches, ratchets, lights, and then skip going to the gym. Get going on working on your boat earlier, because no matter how prepared you think you are, you have to climb up and down this thing a few dozen times, and you'll be pretty pissed off about that by the end of the day. To get started, we're gonna drop our drive down before we disconnect the battery. We're gonna take the alpha drive off, which is just disconnecting these cylinders and then those 6 bolts, and it'll slide right out. That is your drive shaft going into your engine. And once that's out, everything else is done from inside the boat, disconnecting all the stuff underneath the hatch. We got the hatch off, we've got carpet laying down inside, so here we go. Okay, so with the drive up, we want to put the transmission in forward, because as we go down here, I'll show you. Oh no. Ah, what is this? Oh, that's not good. That's not supposed to be like that. Ah. Okay, so this right here is your drive, or your transmission, sorry. By putting it forward, it turns it so that you can slide your drive out. And this is your speedometer. So just cut the cable tie with some side cutters and then pop that cable off, or this hose. All it is a hose. And then that is your speedometer. So for the speedometer, you don't pop the hose off. You just squeeze these together and pull them off. And that's what does it. And you want this drive facing straight out. All right, now we're gonna drop the drive right down. If you don't have enough room to drop it all the way down, you can lower the front of your trailer with the trailer jack that'll raise up on the back of the boat. Okay, now we're gonna take these 6 bolts off and leave our lift cylinders attached. Now I gotta find a block of wood that fits between here, and then lift up on the drive again, and that'll pop this housing right off. You thought this is a Canadian measurement. See the nice gap there now? Now we can relieve the pressure and we can take our steering cylinder off. Okay, so negative terminals are off of the battery, so your batteries are off. There is a positive battery terminal on your starter there. You got to disconnect that. You can see that hanging down there. Took the fan belt off because it's up to you. There's your power steering pump, and that operates your steering. But those lines are connected to assist with the steering at the back. So you can either disconnect the lines or take the pump right off and lay it off to the side. The same thing with your transmission controls here. There's only 3 bolts that hold this whole unit onto your manifold. So you can just take that off and lay it off to the side. There's a wiring harness back here. That's your main control. So a hose clamp around that. Underneath that you'll see a connector that connects your main wiring harness, so you don't have to take any of the wiring off anywhere in the engine. It's actually a pretty neat setup. So we're going to take a couple of those things off. Here we go. Okay, so I took the exhaust manifolds off, and that just gives me more access to the mounts right there. We'll take the mounts off. That yellow wire there is the ground. Do not forget your ground. And then there's one more coolant line going to my power steering there. You see that line there? That needs to be disconnected as well. Then I think we can start lifting it out very carefully. I'm going to grab the forklift with a boom extension and come over the top. Don't forget that if you do have a cherry picker and that's how you're planning on getting it out, you really need a massive height to be able to clear the back of the boat. So it might be better to get a chain fall, hang it from the trusses or something, and then roll the boat out from underneath afterwards. But we will disconnect those last few little things and boom it out. Okay, we got the engine out. If you were going to put another engine in, you would put it back in the exact same way. There was actually 2 grounds on this one. There's a ground on the other side here as well, with one wire going to the back there. If you got hoses that need to be plugged, sockets work really good because they are all sorts of different sizes, and then you just stick an extension in there and then that will stop the leak. Little pro tip for you there, just remember to take it back out again. At this point, we are now going to a carbureted engine, just temporarily, because we are building our 6.2 LS, and our boat engine is here. But I'm gonna pull everything off on this one and put it onto the other engine, all the cooling. Heat exchanger for the power steering, all that I'm gonna move over. Hopefully none of this is cracked from water, but we'll take a good look at it and then we'll go from there. Okay, swapping stuff over. I swapped over the drive. Now I was told that this engine was pulled because he hit the boat, wrecked the hull smashing into something, but I think it was pulled because this is what the drive looks like. It's not supposed to look like that. So I imagine that housing is exactly the same as this housing, but just because I've ran into this before where that might be a little bit different size, height-wise for the mounts or whatever, took the plate off of, or the bell housing off of that one, put it onto this one. Now a few other differences. This one has a really nice drain for all your coolant lines. So these lines end up to your block. This ends up to your your rad hose, obviously. And then there's a really handy drain right here. So to winterize this, all you have to do is open this. Just open that until the water comes out. But they did not do that. Otherwise, you have to drain your blocks. It has, all of these are connected to your manifolds, the block, everything. All they had to do was open this tap. They didn't do it. I don't know if I'm gonna move everything over because it's not really necessary. I don't mind cracking the valves because they're easy to get at the end of the season and just let the water come out of here and out of the bottom of the manifolds. It takes 2 minutes. It takes less time to do that than it would be to move all this over, and we run the risk that this is cracked anyway. So I'm not gonna move this over. We're gonna leave those manifolds exactly as they are. All we're gonna do is put the drains back in it again so that we can winterize it this fall. But I am gonna check over the wiring harness. Okay, so I checked the pins on my plug. The plug looks exactly the same, and the starter, coolant temperature, and the oil pressure sensor were all on the same pins on both plugs. So thankfully, Mercruiser engineers were actually using their brains and kept the generations the same, even though they flow different, carbureted fuel injection. I think it's a matter of just plugging it in. We'll find out when we actually put it in. And if it cranks over and fires, we should be good. I think this engine is next to new. Everything, there's just a tiny bit of heat off on the exhaust manifolds on the bottom, but all the hose clamps look brand new. Like everything looks like it's brand new. The fuel filter looks like it was just changed. The valve covers are super clean, but regardless, before we put it in again, we are going to change the oil. Our old engine had a really nice manifold to drain all the water. All of those manifolds were connected to the exhaust manifolds, the block itself, and other random things that needed to be drained. But I'm only intending to use this thing for a few months left in summer here, take it to the cottage, and then we are building a 6.2 for it right now. It's at Scott's on Northtown, and we'll show you guys how we're gonna build that engine. We're turning a worn out 6.0 into a brand new 6.2. The only issue is that too many people are watching Scott's videos, and he is so busy that there's zero chance of getting it done this year, and I wanna drive the boat. So we are going to do an oil change, but I am not going to move that manifold over. Everything else has been moved over. I think I will put the risers on just because it's a different size for the manifold out back. We ordered new boots, and those will be here in a few days. I just put plugs in where the drains are because I fully expect to only have to do this once. We'll drain it in the fall and then get ready to do our LS swap. The other engine had a really nice oil filter relocate. This one does not. We got the new filter on already. So yeah, last thing to do before we throw it in is an oil change. The oil is not coming out great. Almost like somebody put honey in it. It's out now. I'm gonna drop the pan real quick, maybe pull a bearing and make sure that this is all still worth it, or we should just go straight to LS. I don't see sparkles, but I think somebody put thicker stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. The fact that it came apart like that makes me think that like it was just put together because even that gasket is brand new. So I guess we can pull one bearing cap. Nice crosshatch, and the camshaft's fine. It has been sitting for a while. I think it was rebuilt, but been sitting for a while. So the bearings look really good. Crank looks good. A little piece of dirt did go through this one. You can see one line, but it's not wore. So I think it's okay, and the crank looks fine. I'm not gonna pull all the bearings. I think that's good enough. I don't know whether that was assembly lube, because I still think that this is a brand new engine. The starter's brand new. Everything looks brand new. So hopefully that was just its first run. But we'll see what oil pressure does tomorrow, I guess. All right, so we got our oil pan back on again, and while I'm doing it, I'm staring at this, and I knew that the starter was new, but the date on it is 10/22/09. So this has been rebuilt, I think, 15 years ago, and I don't think it's really had any hours on it since. The fact that the paint and everything is brand new, it matches the starter, the whole thing. I think what was in the pan was just condensation. Where the oil wasn't, there was just a tiny bit of rust, so we cleaned the whole pan out, put it back on again. And we're ready to throw some new oil in it. I'm glad we did the oil change now. The drain from the other engine doesn't fit in here, but like I said, we're gonna pull this engine out again before the LS is already getting built. So we're gonna throw in some marine engine oil made specifically by Pennzoil. So this is the 25W40, nice and heavy for the cooler running temperatures that we're gonna experience, and the constant load and beating when we're pulling the kids around on the tubes and whatnot. So Pennzoil's got your oil for every application, and this is perfect for our little Marine 350. Okay, last thing we're gonna do is replace these risers with the ones that were originally on there, which also have the water coming out the exhaust. So to do that, we're gonna crack these loose and then pull the studs out. Pull the studs out by double nutting the studs and putting a vice grip on it, cracking them loose. Then we'll throw it down on the ground, pull these plugs out, and then put the risers on. Here we go. Okay, so I got the exhaust manifolds back on again, very straightforward. Clean the surfaces, bolted back on. A couple other things I did before ready to throw it back in again is clean up all the threads on the adjusters. Now I got an angle meter on my phone so I can get it roughly close. And really it was 1 degree on this side and it was 0 on this side. Well, we want to count the threads on the bottom and make sure that both of them are exactly the same. And then we can use our Amazon tool just to do the alignment. Basically all you do is shove this in to your drive and have it line up out the back with your trunnion bearing. And then if you're able to spin it easy, put some grease on the very end. I'll show you guys how to do that. It's very straightforward, just to line it up. If you don't line it up, that's what happens with the old drive. You will ruin your drive. So that wasn't me, but it doesn't take long, so it's got to be lined up nice. Other than that, yeah, put the oil filter on. It's got the one-way check valve in it. So that's a PF454. For the GMs or the Mercruiser, I put the power steering pump already on the lines in the spot where the engine goes. Then I can just bolt my pulley on. This one has the cooler right here, and the old one had the cooler right here. But all I'm doing is, because of the sake of the routing, I don't have this hose. We're just gonna leave this one alone, add this one, not have the cooler hooked up. Or we are gonna have the cooler hooked up. Yeah, we are gonna have it's gonna be twice as cold. So it'll be fine. And then that's it. I think that's it. We are good to go everywhere else. We'll fire it up and see how it sounds. Now, I'm very excited about this. Not because I have a boat, I've had a boat before, but just time and the memories that we're gonna make with our kids and family. One of my customers from way back, his kids would have been my kids' age now back then, and I remember him having a pile of fun with it, just going out on Sundays. It's a pile of work, it's a pain in the butt, but at the same time, just spending time with the family. That's what this is all about. That's what all this hard work is for. One, to be able to buy a boat. We bought it cheap because it was broken. to all the effort that goes into putting it all together and then doing the LS swap and all that. So that's fun for me, but doesn't compare to the time spent with the family. So enough yapping, we're gonna throw this thing in, and after I throw some Princess Auto batteries in there while I still have room, and clean up the mating for there, we'll throw these on there, and then we are all set. Here we go. Because these are the one-way check valves that go in the exhaust, so that when you stop, the water runs into the boat, and these stop the water from running up into your manifold. But I did not find them once I shoved them in here. They did not close nicely. So I had to just cut a little hair off the inside of the flat, because sticking them in here squeezed them together a bit, and that pushed on the center and didn't make them want to go real nice. So I just popped them out like so. Pull that thing out with a pair of ice grips, cut just a little hair off the inside with some tin snips. It's tin plates in here, so try to just take a little bit off until they go nice and free inside the exhaust. Here we go. First things first, we want to put our mounts back in again. So we put our lag bolts in and the 2 mounts at the back, and that's what the center hook is for on your thing. So when we lifted it in, we went with the hooks to kind of balance the engine, but now we can hang it off the front, and that will help assist us in getting the angle right. So before we get too carried away, bolt those down, bolt the back ones down, and then align the engine, and then the rest is just reverse assembly. Pretty cool. I might have to swap this around, put it so that the plug is facing the other way. Otherwise, I just gotta cut the loom back a bit and come in through the side here. I might just do that. I'm just gonna do that. So simple stuff. Fuel line, power steering, hook up the coolant line once that bracket is on there. Power steering cooler at the back, and the water line at the back. Exhaust bellows. That's basically it, I think. It's exciting. Here we go. Okay, so I got my angle meter on there, and I'm 2 degrees, if you can see that on my phone. That isn't an accurate, because I've got the trailer on axle stands, the trailer didn't move, and the shop didn't move. So I can get my engine close, tipping this way. If I was 4 or 5 degrees, I could already make some adjustments to get it closer, but I should be pretty close with my alignment tool now. This is not the proper way to do it. This just saves you maybe a couple trips up and down to not have to change it so much. So we can go out back now. We got no weight on the chain, so it's sitting down. All 4 mounts are bolted down, and the top of the nuts are loose. It's just the weight of the engine sitting on the mounts at the bottom. So we'll try our alignment tool. Here we go. So without even sticking my tool or the bearing in there, the trunnion bearing in there, I know that the front of the engine has to go left, and I'm way too high, so I gotta go down. So now, because I've loosened those nuts off and WD-40 those, I can just pick that up, lean underneath, spin those nuts down until the engine's right. Loosen those 3/4 inch lag bolts, slide the engine to the left, and then we'll stick our bearing and our tool in there. There we go. I think I'm pretty close now. Keep in mind that this housing moves, so you can't really go by that. It's the bearing behind it there. But now we can put our bearing in, and basically just put the sleeve over top of there and knock that bearing in into the housing, and that should be it. Get some grease on the end. We'll stick it in, see if we can get it in the splines. Don't think I'm close enough yet. Although that might be it. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm in yet. Okay, so take a piece of wire, stick it inside, and see how far the shaft is supposed to go in. This is how far I'm supposed to go, then this is how far I'm going in. So this isn't even hitting the splines, and that could be as simple as the gimbal bearing has gimbaled. It's able to move inside the housing one way or another. So we can stick the shaft back in again, hit the gimbal bearing, and just tap the back of it with a rubber mallet and see if we can just spin the gimbal a little bit until we can engage the splines. Then check your grease on your splines and make sure that it's nice and even all the way through. There we go. Now it's a matter of adjusting the front until it goes in and out. Now remember, if you're fighting this, stop, go away, have a coffee, go outside, go for a walk. I spent a half hour trying that. I had supper, went back in and had it done almost instantly. So sometimes best to walk away. There's nothing wrong. There's no adjustments on the rear mounts. The rear mounts, there's no shims, there's no nothing. When you stick that in, you can leave the bolts loose so you're able to just tilt it a little bit, but you can pretty much put them all the way down. Do not shim underneath. If that won't go in at all, it's your gimbal bearing. Now fine tune it. Make sure that your spline is going in nice and easy. You should be able to push that in and out, no problem. And then tighten everything up and you're golden. So with the grease, see how the splines are evident all the way around, nice and even. That would indicate that it's engaging nicely. And the fact that we can put it in and out very easily and spin it easily, that's the best our alignment's gonna get. So you don't want it to fight, you want it to be able to just put that in there and then spin it, no problem. So we're back to hooking everything else up inside and we're laughing. Okay, so there it is, nice and neat and tidy. I kept the sensors off of the carbureted engine for the shifting, but I put the cables on, so we'll have to adjust those when we get to the water. Moved my plug over to the side, loomed that up. I did have to take my risers off again to fit that elbow in on the back, so I thought I might have to, but hopefully I didn't wreck the gaskets. If so, I'll have to grab another set. Other than that, power steering pump is on. My reservoir for my transom, I think that's what that is. I just screwed that to the side here because that was mounted on the engine. And other than that, your checklist is make sure that your top of your engine mounts are tight. Now that you've got the height, coolant from your pump coming to the back into that power steering cooler, going to the front. 2 grounds, so the one ground comes from the battery, the other one goes to a junction box right over there. That feeds you all of your gauges, so if your gauges aren't working, then one of your grounds isn't hooked up. Starter cable, batteries plugged in, throttle cable put on, blower hoses back on. Don't forget that there's a ground going to your outdrive that has to be on the block, grounded somewhere. And I think that's it. Tidy up your hoses and make sure that nothing is touching. I still gotta tie that hose down and 2 hose clamps on my fuel line. And then we're done here. We will move to the putting the drive back on. Okay, so this is the last little exhaust piece in the transom here, or your drive. I just went to Amazon and bought a whole kit. And the nice part is it comes with the center section that's a little tighter than this one. So we'll throw the hose clamps on. The easiest way to get that thing off, just a 1/4 inch ratchet with that swivel on there. You don't need a cordless ratchet, but just the ratchet. We'll tighten that up, put the hose clamp on it, slide it over, and tighten her up. And then we'll clean up the gaskets, replace the O-ring, and slide this back together again. Here we go. Okay, so what I ended up doing is taking a hose clamp. You can see that second hose clamp. There's the one that tightens it. There's another hose clamp. I put a couple of zip ties through it and then zip tied that to the bolt. So what that does is it's pulling the hose towards where it needs to be. And then from the inside, you can take a screwdriver, nothing sharp. So now I got the hose around it. I got the hose around the inside and I just pried that, just pop the lip around it, or you can take a smooth awl and just work it around and then keep tightening the zip ties and it'll keep pulling it up. Don't forget your hose clamp and then tie your hose clamp to it. And after that, you can just cut your zip ties and take that other hose clamp off and she's golden. So we got this lined up still in forward gear. We'll replace the O-ring, and then Andy's here, he's gonna give me a hand. We're gonna slide this back on again and see if it runs. Okay, we got our drive on. Basically line up your shifter, pop your oiler back on again, put your cylinders back on. Now see if everything's live. When we swap this thing over, we'll throw the new top back down, and then we'll see what happens. No arcing, no weird noises. That's good. Okay, that works. It's going up. That's good. Okay, beauty. So far, so good. We'll drive it outside and see what's up. Okay, so we got the water running. I imagine the water can't go through unless the pump is turning. So I guess the only thing to do is try and fire it up. Yeah? It wouldn't stop cranking. That's odd. Okay, so maybe the wiring is messed up. Yeah, so the plugs, I thought I checked and the plugs were the same on the fuel injected one to the carbureted one.
Yeah.
But I think I gotta mess with that for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that's not right.
Want me to shut your water off?
Yeah, sure. We got starter staying on, and this is the solenoid that feeds it. This is the wire that turns on to connect the solenoid, and that's working properly. And when you let go of the key, it is going. I thought maybe ignition and starter were backwards or something, but I do still think that the wiring harness is correct. Our starter's just, there's might be gummed up a little bit, who knows? And it's just not enough to kick it back out. So we got the solution right there. Try again. We changed the solenoid because it's nice and easy to get at with my other harness, but that didn't fix it. So then I took the power off of the ignition solenoid here, and then just jumped it with my screwdriver, and it was still staying on. So I don't know if we shimmed these or not. Maybe it's just not shimmed right. But we're gonna pull the starter off the other one. Okay, so we replaced the starter, and I was not getting 12 volts to my coil, so all I did was hot light it. And now Andy's gonna turn the key, see if this will fire. I think we got a little puff, so we should do something, I think.
Oh, I'll find out. Ready?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. And you just discovered this on switch, so that might do it. I'm just gonna unhook the throttle, see if I can just blip it. I don't know if the choke is working. Let's try it. So, that's promising. Yeah. Try it again. Good job. Nice. So yeah, sweet. That's exciting. All right, do it again.
Yeah.
I just gotta get that old fuel out of the thing, and then yeah, keep going. What's oil pressure doing?
Oh, look at that. 40 pounds of oil pressure. Idle. Nice.
Look at that RPM gauge works.
What's it doing in your driveway? Just get the river.
Okay, well, we got a running engine. It fires right up. So that's exciting. We got water going through where it's supposed to be going through, but we do have some leaks. Ah, fire. See if it runs, and then we'll worry about moving. Give it a couple shots.
Really?
You hear it squirt?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
And then
Oh, it wants to go.
it's just a choke, I think, is acting up. Try and crank it. Warm up there. Is that idle too low?
Sounds low.
It's raining! So far, everything's good.
Put your wallet, your phone in the toilet here.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah. Win.
Are you breaking it in? Or just breaking it? You lose my hat for
Exactly as planned.
Exactly. Voting always goes exactly as planned. So I got to work on the choke. The choke is acting up. So it would actually, yeah, I did not want to start cold. But other than that, it goes into gear and it moves, it hustles.
Yeah.
Sounds good. and it wasn't overheating, and good oil pressure.
And then the choke threw me off a bit while, I think it should have been done ahead of time because it kind of threw me off as we were going, and then I had to go right into the mud. So other than that, it went good.
It was a little bit hectic, so we didn't film that, and it was raining. I had my kids there, so we had to shove it out of the mud a little bit, but at least Grand River is just mud and not everything that flows from upriver, right? Tell me that it's just mud.
Oh, I don't know. I think I felt a bicycle tire in there.
But that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys can get something out of this. I'm super happy with the purchase, and like we said from the beginning, we're gonna fix this thing right up. There's an LS right now getting built at Northtown Machine, so we're gonna throw a 6.2 in there. We'll show you guys everything that's involved in doing a closed cooling system with some heat exchangers, how to plumb it. We'll do that all on the stand, so stay tuned for those videos. We're gonna get a C-deck floor for it, custom floor with it. We're gonna convince Ian to do a wrap on the side so it'll look like a whole new boat. Cut and polish it, shine it up a bit, and I'm super happy. I think it's a great, fantastic boat. This engine goes good, like it moves fine, but LS is just... So this engine will be for sale. Lots more stuff coming on the boat. Thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna put it inside, play with the choke a little bit, and then we are heading to the cottage with this tomorrow. So it passed all the tests, and now we're gonna drag it 5 hours farther north. Continue the trek from Texas to Northern Ontario and keep enjoying it. So remember, if you're not filthy, you're not pushing a boat out of the mud in the Grand River.
The only one that can go into a river and then get filthy.
He did. It was like a straight line. I wasn't paying attention. Like, turn around, stay close to the dock.
Well, we got filthy.
Here we go.